Imagine a solitary mountain, its peak shrouded in mist, standing quietly above the world. In its shadow lies a small village where the people live simple lives, their days shaped by the rhythm of the seasons. Among them is a young man named Aaron, restless and full of questions. He dreams of greatness, of escaping the routines that bind him, but every attempt to change his life leaves him more confused, anxious, and dissatisfied. One evening, after another day spent chasing fleeting ambitions, Aaron sits beside the river that winds through his village. The water glides smoothly over stones, a mirror to the restless thoughts tumbling through his mind. Frustrated, he hurls a pebble into the current, watching ripples distort the surface. Why, he wonders, does peace seem so elusive? Why do his dreams never bring him the fulfillment he seeks? As dusk settles, an old monk passes by, his gait slow but purposeful, eyes bright with something Aaron cannot name. The monk pauses, noticing Aaron's troubled face, and sits beside him in silence. After some time, the monk gently asks, "Why do you trouble your mind so, young one?" Aaron hesitates, then pours out his frustrations, his desire for success, his fear of failure, the endless cycle of striving and disappointment. The monk listens patiently, then smiles. "Let me tell you a story," he says, his voice soft yet strong. Long ago, in a distant land, there lived a renowned swordsman named Liang. He was unmatched in skill, swift, precise, and unstoppable in battle. People came from far and wide to challenge him, but none could defeat him. Yet, despite his fame, Liang was plagued by doubt. He feared that one day, someone would surpass him, and his reputation would vanish like mist at dawn. One day, Ling heard of a sage living atop a mountain, said to possess wisdom greater than any warrior's blade. Eager for answers, Ling climbed the steep path, carrying his sword and his questions. When he reached the summit, he found the sage tending a garden, hands covered with earth, eyes serene. Liang bowed deeply and said, "Master, I seek to become the greatest swordsman. Teach me so I may never be defeated." The sage looked up and smiled. "Very well. But first, empty your cup so I may fill it." Liang, puzzled, watched as the sage poured tea into a cup, filling it to the brim. Still, the sage continued pouring, and the tea spilled over, running across the table, dripping to the ground. Liang protested, "Stop! The cup cannot hold any more." The sage set the teapot aside. "This cup is like your mind, so full of your own ideas, fears, and ambitions that there is no room for anything new. If you wish to learn, you must first empty your mind." Liang was struck silent. For years, he had trained, fought, and conquered, believing that victory came from strength and skill. But he realized now that his mind was cluttered with pride and anxiety, leaving no space for clarity or growth. He stayed with the sage, learning not only about swordsmanship, but about stillness. He learned to let go of his fears and preconceptions, to quiet the storm of thoughts that raged within. In the silence, Liang discovered a deeper strength, a calmness that allowed him to see clearly, to move with purpose and confidence. When he returned to the world, Liang found that his sword was lighter, his movements more fluid. He no longer fought to prove himself, but simply to express the mastery he had cultivated within. He became truly unbeatable, not because of his skill alone, but because his mind was unburdened, empty, open, and free. The monk paused, watching Aaron absorb the story. "You see," he said, "your mind is like that cup. When it is filled with worries, expectations, and noise, there is no space for growth. If you want to find peace and purpose, you must first learn to empty your mind. Arun sat quietly, the lesson sinking in. He realized how much of his life had been spent clinging to anxieties, replaying failures, and chasing outside approval. In his pursuit of greatness, he had crowded his mind with so much noise that he could no longer hear his own heart. The monk continued, "Emptying your mind does not mean abandoning your dreams or becoming passive. It means letting go of what no longer serves you, the doubts, comparisons, and fears that weigh you down. In the space that remains, you will find clarity, creativity, and true strength." Arun looked at the river, its surface now calm as the stars appeared overhead. He saw for the first time that stillness was not emptiness, but potential. A blank canvas upon which anything could be created. In the days that followed, Arun began to practice this wisdom. Each morning before the village awoke, he would sit by the river, closing his eyes and letting his thoughts drift away like leaves on the current. At first, it was difficult. His mind rebelled, filling the silence with worries and plans. But with patience, he learned to let go, to trust the quiet. As his mind cleared, Arun noticed changes. He listened more deeply to others, no longer distracted by his own judgments or impatience. He worked with greater focus, discovering joy in the smallest tasks. When challenges arose, he faced them with calm, no longer overwhelmed by fear or doubt. Even his dreams changed, no longer driven by the need to prove himself, but by a genuine curiosity and desire to grow. The villagers saw the transformation in Arun. He became a source of strength and kindness, sought out for his wisdom and calm presence. Yet Arun knew that the true change was invisible, a spaciousness within, a peace that could not be shaken by success or failure. Years later, as Arun grew older, he returned to the river where he had first met the monk. The water moved as it always had, but Arun saw it with new eyes. He understood now that life, like the river, is ever-changing. To resist its flow is to create suffering, but to let go, to empty the mind, is to find peace in every moment. The lesson of the empty cup stayed with him always. He realized that life's greatest power comes not from holding on, but from letting go. In emptiness, there is room for everything: joy, love, wisdom, and the endless possibility of growth. So remember this: when your mind feels crowded, when life seems overwhelming, pause. Let go of the noise, the clutter, the things you cannot control. Empty your mind, and you will discover the quiet strength that lies within. In that space, you are free to create, to grow, and to live fully, one peaceful breath at a time.